those are the 7 books that I'm reading. Don't judge me. If you want to pour life into others, you have to learn how to pour life into yourself. My goals and my intentions for 2024, more than anything, I just want to be aligned with God's will for my life. Hey, Purposeful Women, I hope that you're all doing wonderful. This is my first video of 2024. I wanted to make it a chit chat, catch up, and also just talk about creativity and wellness. I really enjoy posting posts on YouTube. I know it's a video platform, but I really do love the community tab, and I love reading your comments. And I have just noticed there's a theme, there's a trend. You have so many of us who are in a space that we are paralyzed. We don't know how to take the first step in our creative pursuits, or we're in a space that we are overwhelmed because we're not paying attention to our bodies. We're not paying attention to our spirits, where we are and what we need. Or we're in a space that we're like, you know what? I'm going to pay attention to the rhythm of this season. It's cold outside. I'm going to hibernate. I'm going to pay attention to my inner needs, and I'm just going to roll with it. So I want to discuss many of those feelings that we have, especially around the winter, when sometimes you want to do more than your body is allowing you to do. Like, you might be exhausted and in need of rest, and you have 101 things on your checklist. How do you move past that? How do you find a healthy rhythm where you're able to get things done, but you're also able to pay attention to where you are and what you need? So for me personally, something that I started a few years ago was that I was going to allow the first quarter of my year to really be a time to just enjoy the fruits of my labor, hibernate, dig deep, see what I need in order to move forward, not try to do the most, but also get things done that need to get done. When I did that last year, I entered the second quarter feeling so much more refreshed. And it was also in many ways a declaration to myself to remember, I do not have to beat to anyone else's drum. Sometimes we look at the messaging out there that's telling us one thing: new year, new goals. Well, what if there's goals from 2023 that you're still working through and you want to continue working on those? Are you supposed to just shut down everything that you are doing and start afresh? Does a new year really mean a new you? We can sometimes put so much pressure on ourselves that we often begin chasing things that we don't even really want. There's a time for everything. I wanted to quickly insert just how important it is to know what season you are in. I've been reading Ecclesiastes 3. There's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. You can read the full chapter yourself, but what I've been paying attention to is, if you know what season you are in, if you are in a season of uprooting, but you are more concerned about planting because you want to be looking productive, what you plant might be destroyed by what you have yet to uproot, because you have yet to deal with what is living beneath the surface. So don't ever feel like you have to beat to someone else's drum. Take the time out to truly be in tune with the Holy Spirit and ask God to lead and direct your activities. So I know I mentioned in my Q&A video that a few things I'm really committed to in this season is I want to write more, I want to host more workshops for Dear Purposeful Woman, and just find creative ways to share my gifts. And a few realizations that I have had. So last week I was sitting down and I was like, okay, I need to think about what is going to be the first Dear Purposeful Woman workshop that I do for 2024. And my mind just went blank. And then I realized that I was trying to pull from an empty well. So in that moment where I was just like, nothing's coming to mind, it was a little frustrating because I know I want to do this, but I was like, Lord, why am I struggling right now? Why? Literally, I have no words. I don't know what to write down. I'm just a little mentally blocked. And in that moment, what I realized is the solution wasn't for me to pray for God to give me ideas or for revelations of what I can create. in that moment, what I really needed to do was release the pressure. What I really needed to do was understand that in that moment, what I really needed was rest. What I really needed was some time away from my computer to just be, to unwind, to be creative, do some reading, write for the fun of it, and not pressure myself to always be producing. There has to be a middle ground, especially as creatives. I know a lot of you who watch my channel are creative in many ways, whether you have YouTube channels, you're writers, whatever you may be. But one thing I want to quickly say is creativity is not just reserved for what you put out there online. We are creative in our everyday lives, whether it be what we're cooking for dinner or deciding you want to revamp your office to make it brighter and a space that you can get work done. So many of us think we're not creative because we're not putting things out there in a way that in many ways is celebrated now. Creativity is so vast and it can't be put in a box. So back to what I was saying, I was just in a space that I just had to surrender. And I know we've been talking a lot about surrender recently, just being able to let go and realize that you do not have control over every process. You do not have control over what each step is going to produce. The only thing you can do is take the first step and then the next step and then the next step. So I just put my computer down. I said, I'm going to come back to this. This is not the time in this moment. I am going to refill my spirit. I am going to take care of my body. I'm going to give myself the things that I need so that the next time I sit down at this computer and I start thinking about what my next workshop is going to be, ideas, the spirit-filled revelations will come and I will move forward. So it doesn't have to be a rush. It can be a process that needs to be embraced. So I posted a post on my community tab a few days ago. Well, by the time this is posted, it would have been last week. And I basically was just saying, be kind to yourself. Like, while you're working to become better, don't become your number one bully. Don't be that person who literally beats yourself to death in order to produce, because you will not produce anything that can truly pour life into others. If you want to pour life into others, you have to learn how to pour life into yourself first. There's such a beautiful connection between creativity and wellness, because for one, your creativity needs your wellness and your wellness needs your creativity. You need to know what you need in order to show up. So how are you doing mentally? How are you doing emotionally? How are you doing physically? Do you need to go for a walk because your body's feeling tense and tight? It's like knowing what you need and also knowing how to respond. And in many times we have to get creative in those responses, because wellness is going to look so differently for all of us. The time that I might have as a woman who is married but who doesn't have children yet is going to be completely different to a mother who is married and also has children. The time that you find for being creative, for taking care of yourself, is going to look different to me. So that's why I believe that wellness requires creativity and creativity requires wellness. They both work together. Knowing what you need spiritually, that's a part of your wellness. It's a part of your spiritual wellness. So I'm really paying attention to what I need right now, knowing how to ride the waves, because some days I'm full of energy and I can get a lot more done. Other days, I honestly just want to chill in bed and watch Netflix. But two things that have really been helping me to stay calm and to not get overwhelmed, to not allow my mind to be cluttered and full of things that I don't need, is, for one, I love writing. So I'm gonna start blogging again. So I actually just launched my blog. This is gonna be separate from what I do with Dear Purposeful Woman. So definitely check it out if you are a purposeful creative. And I'm also gonna be doing a monthly newsletter, and it's gonna really be tied into my YouTube channel, Creativity, Wellness, and Faith. And then Dear Purposeful Woman is still Dear Purposeful Woman, which is really about the inner work. It's really about the healing journey and really just creating space to write your way through the ups and downs of everyday life. And that will be where I'll be doing many of my workshops and so forth. So I'm realizing more and more that it's really important to be in tune with who you are. That's something that has really been very freeing for me. So another thing that I've been doing a lot more is reading. This year I was like, okay, I'm gonna replace the idle time. Instead, I'm going to read. So my goal has been to read about 30 minutes a day. I literally have like 7 books on my bedside. I don't really have an opinion, well, a strong opinion about any of the books that I'm reading right now. So I'm not gonna say, hey, like go out and buy this book because it's X, Y, and Z. But I will share with you some of the books that I'm reading and why, because they've really been helping to fuel my creativity, fuel my faith, and just help me in general to just grow in the areas that I need some work. So let me get those books. So the books I'm currently reading, the first one is Called to Create, a biblical invitation to create, innovate, and risk. So one thing about me, which I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I can literally read 7 or 8 books at the same time, and I have like a folder of each book in my mind, and I know exactly where I left off. For the most part, I love reading multiple books at once. So the second book that I'm reading that is very interesting, it's called Purposeful. And it says, why chasing your dreams, finding your calling, and reaching for greatness will never be enough. And what really piqued my interest about this book is, for one, when I think about my dreams for Dear Purposeful Woman and the message that I want to put out there, like one thing that I always say is less pressure and more authentic, purposeful living. And I think that sometimes there's a lot of misconceptions surrounding walking in purpose. What's my calling? What am I on earth to do? I think sometimes we begin worshiping those ideas rather than focusing on building an authentic relationship with our Creator and then allowing everything else to flow from that well. So this has been an interesting read so far. When I finish reading this book, I'll be sure to give a full review. So I also think I'm going to incorporate this book into my video about purpose versus calling and the misconceptions around both concepts. So, yeah, interesting read. The third book that I'm reading is The Bait of Satan, Living Free from the Deadly Trap of Offense. Now, this is a really interesting read so far. Sometimes we don't understand the severity of unforgiveness, bitterness, anger, and really harboring those emotions. Other books is Get Good with Money. I just want to make sure that I'm always a good steward over my finances. So I always recommend a financial refresh, and this is going to be my 2024 financial refresh. And then the last 3 books, Redeeming Your Time, and this is actually another one. Is this the same author? Yeah, so this is actually the same author, Jordan Raynor. And this is 7 biblical principles for being purposeful, present, and wildly productive. So I'm interested to really read more about a biblical perspective of being productive. I have really enjoyed Atomic Habits and also the 3-month, I can't remember what it's called, but I'm going to put it on the screen. I also think that this will be a really good and purposeful read for me. So the next book that I'm reading is I Hope You Fail, and this is by Pinky Cole. And the reason why I wanted to read this book, because I'm always so intrigued to know what fuels people, and to see that all she has accomplished in the last 4 years, I think 4 to 5 years. One thing that I have noticed from what I've read so far is that so much of what we run from is preparing us for what's to come. And something that she said in a video that I watched was that she got fired from her job, and that was the night that her business changed. I think Snoop Dogg and Jermaine Dupri were hungry one night because they were recording at the studio, and she cooked them food and then they posted it, and then her business just shifted. The thing that you thought was gonna destroy you might just be the thing that's gonna make you, right? So I'm just intrigued. Plus she's Jamaican, so that's also inspirational. And then last but not least, I have Boundaries in Marriage, Understanding the Choices That Make or Break Loving Relationships. One thing I know is if you want to have a happy, joyful, healthy marriage, you have to do the work. Sometimes it can be overwhelming, but realizing this, like everything else, is one step at a time. If you're able to do well in one area and then expand to the next and then continue expanding to the next, I think overall things will bit by bit come together, and also knowing to keep God first. So that's where I am with marriage. So literally, so those are the 7 books that I'm reading. Don't judge me. This works for me, and it goes back to knowing thyself. Like, I'm just that type of person. I love reading a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there, writing a little note and stuff like that. So this has been enjoyable to me. But that aside, my goals and my intentions for 2024, more than anything, I just want to be aligned with God's will for my life. And I think that what I'm realizing is that process of being aligned is knowing when you need to do less, but then also knowing when you need to do more. It's going to be times that stillness is going to be doing the work. So I think that really understanding that this journey has so many nuances. When we're so fixated on an idea of how something is meant to be done, that's often when we get paralyzed and when we don't do it, because it doesn't look perfect. It doesn't look how we thought it would. So I'm definitely just on the continued journey of surrender, being obedient, and releasing all the creativity that I have to release. I am continuing to just embrace this journey and this process, but just being patient with this journey. So also be patient with yours. Do the work that you can do, but also know when your mind, body, and spirit is telling you to just be still. So that's where I am. I hope that you enjoyed this little update. Also hope that this video was an opportunity for you to just breathe, recenter yourself, know that you're not alone. And in the comments, let me know how your January has been so far, and one lesson that you are taking away from the month, because I know that not only is it going to inspire me, it's going to inspire those reading it. So I'm going to be posting 1 video a week, and as I mentioned, definitely check out my new blog. And if you are interested in joining one of my workshops, join the waitlist. It's coming soon. It's coming soon. Okay, ladies, so I will see you in my next one. If you're new to my channel, I'm Shandice. Have a wonderful rest of the week. See ya.